pushed out of Slurpee by Vico and Malabuka, but here. And Matez, Capi, just trying to see what they can gather. Content to spend a little bit of extra time waiting to see exactly directions for everybody else surrounding them and where they're going to rotate through.
38 duos still up. Or players, I mean, 19 out of the 20 duos. Not too much action goes on in kind of that 6th, 5th zone, but it's right before those reboots end is where a lot of the danger kind of comes through. Smaller zones, riskier rotates. Wondering what happened to Pradaj. You can see fully cracked there on the edge of Steamy.
Looks like Gonzo and Pradaj maybe had intentions of building up a little bit here, but Panzer Yapko with the stealth play of a lifetime. Gonzo now fully on the retreat. That shockwave gonna buy him a little bit of time, a little bit of space. And Panzer Yapko, at least for the time being, they're gonna let this one slide by. But you have to anticipate that they're going to look to reaggress at any moment now. They are relatively stacked, Takata. I mean, 4 shockwave grenades. It's definitely a nice spot to be in, and they know that they have Gonzo completely cut off from communications with his duo. He is stranded.
Yeah, they did almost kind of mess up a bit, though. There was only one pump shot that connected. They weren't able to both hit one and get the full knock instantly, so it did cause Gonzo to leave, but Faded, a tragic moment to get knocked. Good news is reloads are still active, but it's only for a matter of time, and now the focus slowly getting onto them. Bevy's being fully cracked. We'll see how the recuperation is going to come through, but Pixie Swizzy now holding on.
This is an evil zone pull that we are witnessing right now, because anybody that's rebooting in these last few moments, they're just going to be so exposed. There is not very many places to hide already. Deep southwest on the map right now. Excuse me, just deep west in general, but Strokey and Bevies trying to prevent Faded from getting any closer. Want to see if they can secure another elimination here, and sure enough, Faded and Khan, I believe that is going to be a clean duo wipe here. We're nearly to the placement points, Takata. Remember, it's top 15, and it's always like this. I feel like whenever we're hitting 7th, 8th zones, we're still looking at just so many teams left over from the early game.
I mean, this is truly where the game starts for a lot of these teams. Like you mentioned, without even having placement points hit yet, the majority of the eliminations coming through this section of the match, if you didn't have kind of the chance to farm those elims in the early game. I'm curious to how this zone pulls, though. Is it going to continue on the edge or no? It is going to pull back, so Yapko, Panzer now in a great position here.
Can't say the same, though, for Swizzy and Pixie, as they've been fully eliminated. They're not going to be able to reboot back into this one. That is a clean duo wipeout. Yapko, Panzer, though, their style has definitely been a little bit more committed towards the low ground. Floor is getting chopped down underneath, though, from Kashi and Fire, and Vico Malabuka refusing to let Fire have the opportunity to go for the revive. And now Prax Glove Sheet overhead. And it's going to be an abandoned mission here from Fire, and he's going to be forced to just play his own life and leave his knock duo to the wolves here. Vico Malabuka, the loot is free for right now.
6 elims on the board as well, looking incredibly strong as now the zone pulls back to that high elevation. Pablo looking to capitalize on it. Meanwhile, Shark and Teeny actually playing down in the water, living up to Shark's name as he looks to pick off Wavy. And now that's another elim for them on the board. Actually, first one of the game as they continue to kind of take that passive route.
Poor Wavy and Josh. It almost, you think it's almost personal at this stage from Teeny and Shark, but no, it's just when two worlds collide, and unfortunately, Shark and Teeny being that other half of it, just a dangerous duo to ever have to encounter, but everybody seems like they've really taken note. Playing on the cliff face, trying to box up wherever they might. High ground position on the peak of this hill here is going to be very difficult to control. It's going to come down to, I think, a lot of resource management, especially for some of these crash pads and shockwave grenades. But when you have so much of the zone, forcing these duos to kind of traverse over all this water and varying elevation, it's just going to be very difficult for teams to maintain their build count.
To be fair, though, the zone is pulling back to where it came from, so it's a good opportunity to recycle a lot of the builds that were already used to make it this far. However, when you're shockwaving, when you're crash padding, sometimes it's hard to know exactly where you're going to land, especially if it's opponent's builds. But Howley, Lucia doing a great job of holding on to the clouds here, applying pressure to that second height, as now, once it gets over the water, it's going to be even more difficult for those players that are down below.
Want to see how Lusha actually fares up above, though. We know that he is a fiend, notorious for loving his high ground control, but actually being able to maintain it in a lobby of this caliber, that's where the difficulties really lies. Vico, Malabuka, it's going to be through. They're going to find an elimination onto Pradaj. Where is Gonzo hiding? But Vico, Malabuka, instead, it's Felixi. Don't know if they realize, but Vico has to pause. He needs to give an opportunity for Malabuka to heal up just a bit, get a little bit of shield online here before they move forward. Howley, Lusha still doing a great job maintaining height. Panzer overhead. The shockwaves. Yepko right behind him. Be able to recycle a little bit of this Menace grenade, but visual, it is very difficult to actually see through here. You want to make sure that you don't get surprised at the last second. A lot of teams kind of just waiting for the perfect opportunity to pick off somebody from the backside of zone.
I mean, those teams that built the big tarps, it's gone back again. The back and forth of these zones is crazy, as Lusha and Howley are capitalizing on that exact situation. But so far, the players down below that are running low on mats now are starting to see that difficulty, as Pablo, Chino playing a bit aggressive onto Shark and Teeny. Med Mist forced to be parked here. Slurps, though, in the inventory. It's going to be a quick bailout for him.
We've also got those shockwaves just in case. Could really play spoiler for some of these other teams nearby. The build's just getting destroyed in moments. A Shark gonna use one of those shockwaves to go up. Secondary height, break through the builds now. The high ground overall, and he's not the only one. Teeny right next to him. Howley gonna be forced to try and depart here. Pablo from overhead, but Lusha nowhere to be seen. Shark, Teeny have completely overthrown high. It is firmly in their control now, and they will waste absolutely no time cranking further upwards and tarping overhead. This is going to be terrifying for everybody else underneath.
Yeah, they have a very healthy amount of materials as well. And Zone, once again, it's just going back and forth. I don't even know what to say at this point. Yapko, though, in a healthy spot. Pablo is able to pick up Chino as well. Inventory not looking great. Just a quick fizz to get ahead here, as now finally the zone pulls further into the land. Yapko Panzer trying to capitalize on that and take those shots on the players on the edge of Storm.
But the low ground is something they are very familiar with, and they still have a couple of shockwaves. We've seen them time and time again throughout the bulk of these lobbies, just breaking through builds in the final seconds, making it very complicated for any teams to actually gauge which direction they might send themselves flying towards. As Yapko, Panzer, still managing to stay ahead, but they are incredibly low on builds in comparison to somebody like Pablo, who's still just managing tarp forward for Gino, waiting to see if they can confirm yet another elimination from the heart of low ground. Josh in a lot of trouble here too, and you can never forget about Vico and Malabuka, who are still carving their own way forward here. Big shockwave, but it's not going to send Vico where he wants to go. Instead, he loses Malabuka. They've got a lot of eliminations to work with, but the front side of zone, it is not in Vico's control just yet. He's going to need more. And Demish, Darm, just trying to stay alive.
Quickly punished, though, when they tried playing for the high ground. Shark doing what he can to maintain it, but now the shockwaves, the bouncy castle once again unfolding, as Demish has dropped to 11 HP, just one shot away from getting eliminated. But somehow, after all that chaos, it's still Shark and Teeny above.
And Shark needed that little bit of Flowberry Fizz, that little bit of backup from Teeny, but Pablo, Chino, they're not ready to let go of this one just yet. Big shot onto Panzer for Pablo. Just gonna wait for that siphon to come through. A little bit of material. He needs the body loot, and he needs it now, but he won't get a chance to make it there. Yapko gonna cut him off, punish him for that elimination onto his duo. And it is a clean exchange between the two. That's gonna put Shark and Teeny in a power position now. Just rocking overhead. Yapko with credit on another elimination. The siphon match coming up big time for him. But still, will it be enough? He's got one med kit to work with here. Takana, can Shark and Teeny actually figure out where he's at?
Oh, Shark though gets quickly shut down as Yapko is on fire as he's looking to pick up another one, but Teeny has found a vending machine. No, he goes down. Teeny Shark end up closing it out. Shark played aggressive, Teeny played safe, and with that, they were able to secure the victory royale.
But it's the fact of the matter that Yapko and Panzer were even able to make that deep of a run in the first place. Incredible scenes all around from some of these duos. Frankie, what have you got to say?
Thank you very much. And yeah, Yapko Panzer, they're looking like the most consistent duo in this lobby so far. However, you have to hand it to Shark and Teeny. They're always gunning for that top spot. And this time it was no different, Harry.
No, it feels like a copy and paste of last game. You've got Pablo and Chino making it deep into the end game, and you've got, at the end, well, it wasn't a 2v2 this time, it was a 2v1 of Shark and Teeny versus just Yapko, and to be honest, it's looking like it's lining up to be a really exciting endgame. Just seeing the same two duos fight out consistently and give Shark and Teeny high ground, and you'll see what they'll do. They'll make it to the last moving zone. They'll make it to be at least top 2, and they are setting up to dominate the lobby, and surprisingly not as aggressive in the early and mid game as I thought, you know, with the shackles off as we talked about, but hey, whatever works. Don't fix what's not broken.
Well, look, when we look at how they played in the first qualifier, right, they weren't one of those teams that was super aggressive. We thought that might change now that they have the shackles off, like you said. But one thing that hasn't changed is their willingness to go up for height. Disgusting scenes from these guys at the moment. And I think it actually poses a big problem to the rest of the lobby because these guys aren't going to let up on height. There's quite a few teams in this lobby who we could point out and say, this team wants to play height. If they're going to have a chance of qualifying for the LAN, they're probably going to have a couple good height games. Teeny and Shark aren't allowing it. And so you have to start to think, again, the teams like Yapko, the teams like Pablo, they're going to have a better chance because they're not even trying it, right? They're saying, hey, we ain't bothering with that. We're going to stay down here. And that's, you're going to help them be a bit more consistent.
Well, we're 4 games in, 4 more to go, so we'll kick those off after this break.
Teammates have his back, push the house, gets the drop on the Marion, stays alive, they're targeting out Vanya, 3v1.
Welcome back to the Reload Elite Series. Shark and Teeny have claimed respect from everyone in the region, and they're showing no signs of giving it back. There's complete and utter disrespect to anyone who's trying to take height, anyone who's trying to feel safe on this map. These boys are not moving or letting anyone else move an inch. But let's see who has moved on the leaderboard. You can see that that qualifying line has moved down, and that's because Shark and Teeny and Chino and Pablo Wingo have already qualified to the LAN Championship. So right now, Yapko and Panzer, Vico Malabuka, and Fast Roki and Bevies are looking like they might claim those tickets. However, we do have 4 more games to go tonight before we find that out. So let's take a look at Chino and Pablo in this last game, because it's fantastic to see them make it so far, Harry. And you know Chino so well. Did you expect this from him?
I mean, he is one of the most talented players we have right now, right? You saw it last year in trios, and to be honest, in the first couple of games, you were seeing, you know, a clutch from Pablo, a clutch from Chino, and it did end up, Chino, this game being a little bit of a clutch towards the end, but they're making it so deep into these end games with the duo when they're so stacked. It was towards like 20 players alive going into final moving, and being able to maneuver around that together and being able to stay alive and actually get refresh after refresh to get deeper into that end game. You saw there 9 elims, a big game, even if they didn't manage to get second or first, and they're not going down without a fight. You know, we're talking about Shark and Teeny, Yapko and Panzer. They're slowly sneaking up.
Go for it, Levin. I heard you had a thought there.
Oh no, that wasn't me. But
Oh, that wasn't. Oh, okay, that was okay, fine. Well, I'll take over then. So you Yapko and Panzer, like Harry, you were saying the fact that their average placement so far is 2.5. It's incredible to think that they were not even playing in February's qualifying final, and now they're here absolutely dominating. The game plan is absolutely on point. Do you think they are benefiting from the fact that there's no surge? They just don't have to think about that and factor that into their game plan?
Yeah, I mean, when you can just go endgame to endgame and you don't have to worry about, oh, who do I get surge on? Are we going to get fought early because the mid games are so short? It just allows you to get that consistency going, get into that flow state, and at the moment they're just flying in these end games. Whether they're stacked, whether they're scuffed, they're just making it as far as they can, and even to a heal off at this point. So I'll be interested to see if anyone tries to stop them.
Well, we will find out, because it's time for game number 5.
Look, it might be Yapko and Panzer's first time in the Reload Elite Series finals, Takata, but they are not new to this. And with Game 5 underway, let's just see what happens.
It's got to be the most consistent performance we've seen so far. You know, despite we're only halfway through the tournament today, but 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place. These are their recent placements in these matches today. If they keep it up, we're going to see the most consistent team.
Wait. I saw elimination feed. I'm seeing Shark. I'm seeing Panzer. I know we're looking at Boom and Base right now, and granted, this is a very important off spawn, but things are definitely picking up all over the map right now, Takata. Glubshy and Prax, they've been going toe-to-toe with Swizzy and Pixie since the start of today's competition. Things have come to a little bit of a lull here. Pixie just trying to see if he can get this opportunity for the bank hit, but there's a lot of pressure right now at Steamy Stacks. Yapko has an elimination. Panzer 1-2, or Panzer waiting to see if he can secure one, but sparks are definitely flying.
I wonder if it's just Shark or if both of them decided to go con Steamy, but definitely you kind of hinted at it last game. They started rotating by Steamy. Shark and Teeny were playing passive, but also kind of on the hunt for Yapko and Panzer, and it looks like that trend is continuing in full force this time around, but we'll see if they end up getting into another tussle here. For now, Vico has kind of joined the party by Prax and Glubshy. Jumped right over his head, though.
Vico's just looking to intervene. There is more than enough loot still hanging around Slurpy Swamp, and while Malabuka's securing what he can for the duo, Vico is just trying to build up the elimination points. He's already got 1, so that's gonna be at least 3 that are good to go. Pablo and Chino also looking to get involved here, and they are just completely chasing down Josh, as Vico will also get an elimination onto Glubshy at the exact same moment. A lot of these big duos in the lobby, Takata, just looking to pop off as solos here.
Vico, Malabuka now, 2 on the board. Looking to see if they can continue this forwards as they Might want to be a little careful of the potential third party you can see on the east side here, but for now, they're more than healthy. Prax, Glubchi doing what they can to stay up, but Vico is just having so much value here. It looks like a disengage might be attempted, but it's not going to be possible with the shot connecting onto Prax. Matt's running low. Vico takes down Prax. Can he get the finish? Yes, he can. Right before going down. Hey, I'd say that's worth. That's a win in my books.
That is so much value right now for Vico because he loses nothing for it. He just gets 2 eliminations, interrupts Glubchi and Prax's loop path, takes a little bit of it even, uses it, so wasting resources that Glubchi and Prax could have otherwise maybe opted for later on, and now is going to leave them incredibly weak, which means other teams can start to come into the fold, cringe, flying through. Almost feel like Prax's life is definitely in danger there, but Teeny and Shark, they are still looking to hang around Dirty Docks for the most part. 2 eliminations though for Shark. That is big scenes here. Cringe on the receiving end though. Things completely turned around. They came looking for a fight and they found one. Prax and Glubchi have had enough. They are sick of these other teams looking to get involved at their POI.
And it's non-stop. I mean, Still Town is where the party is every single game. There's new people joining uninvited, but you know, at the same time, it can almost be a positive if you can get enough elims, but unfortunately, with the amount of times they've been not able to get good loot, Matt's due to it. It's rough. Darn, though. What a way to pick up an elimination on Flixie. I mean, I feel bad for Chap and Flixie. They've had a rough tournament so far, from winning the first match of the day to going down 19th, 17th, 14th. I mean, that is absolutely tragic for them, and they are going to need some massive games if they want to have a comeback.
And that was the second time, too, that we saw them really trying to challenge Darm and Deemish so early on. They've definitely got to hit the drawing board here, Takata, because if they continue faring in this way, their hopes of that top 3, their hopes of securing a quals, it's just not going to work out at this rate. Vico, Malabuka back in Slurpee. Josh and Mimbo just looking to see if they can escape here. And Vico, Malabuka definitely making their presence known. It looked like Kings fully in control here at Slurpee Swamp. And what makes it even worse is that for Chap and Flixie, they know Malabuka and Vico, they have so many resources now that they can just have complete control over.
Yeah, it's not as crazy as Slurpee this time around compared to previous matches at the same moment, but it looks like a sneaky play. Kashi Fearin. They're going to connect a couple shots, not enough for a knock, but just a sliver of HP left onto Gonzo. Pradaj now forced to take that pressure, keep his teammate alive. The slurp is dropped, and now they continue pushing on through, but so far, no knocks.
Cash in fear, and they were really hoping to just get that early confirmation knock. The fact is, just a little bit too little of damage. And now, Pradaj, the deed's been done. Gonzo, relatively healthy. They might even be able to turn this one now into their favor. Cash in fear and kind of recognizing the fact that, hey, we started this. We either need to finish it or get out, because Gonzo is definitely healthy enough now that this engagement just a little bit too dicey for them to try and tackle head on.
We'll see if they're actually able to get a successful disengage here, because there's so many duos already kind of boxed up right outside. But for now, it looks quite well. Just Jokey Bevies refarming up their hard mats, and they're going to stay here unless the zone tells them not to. I don't think they're going to look to get any aggression here, though.
Sturkey and Bevies are in such a delicate position, though, Takata, because they are right on the cusp for that top 3 section of the leaderboard. They don't want to find themselves being removed early.
Yeah, I mean, they are literally the cutoff right now. Keeping in mind Sharktini and Pablo Chino both being in top 3, it means top 5 technically qualify for the $2.5 million land. So they're at 146 points. The duo below them is Pradaj and Gonzo at 127. So all they got to do is keep it up. But Pradaj and Gonzo, or even Dharma Deemish, get a big game. could bump them out.
And you know that both of those duos are respectively going to be looking for it. Karama and Akira also a little bit of a pickle here right now. Shark and Teeny. A lot of people were kind of speculating how aggressive were Shark and Teeny going to actually be against this French duo, because Akira and Karama have seemed a little bit on fire lately. Their stock has definitely been rising in the calm, and if Shark and Teeny are able to prevent a strong competitor from challenging them later on by blocking their qual possibilities here today, that is only upside for Shark and Teeny, and would just be so devastating, I think, for the French community, but maybe they'll be able to turn things around. It's going to be tough, though, because Shark and Teeny, they are not the sort to just let someone get off scot-free.
It's interesting, because if you look at Shark and Teeny's match history, they've gotten 3 eliminations twice, 2 eliminations once, but then randomly an 11 elimination second place. So it's interesting to kind of see the switch up, but it looks like overall they are just playing a bit more passive than we thought originally, but also they kind of have Yapko Panzer in mind. They're like, if we see them, we're willing to risk it all to take them out. And Yapko Panzer, they might know this. Might be part of the reason they're playing as safe as they are, but whatever they're doing, it's clearly working. The most consistent duo we've seen so far. If they get another top 3, top 5, probably going to be a record for these finals, despite only being the second qualifier final, but nice little rotate in.
Yeah, for Yapko Panzer especially, though, you have to anticipate that Shark and Teeny are going to off-spawn contest you eventually. You don't know if it's going to be in the next lobby or even the one after that, but if they maintain their position at the top of the leaderboard, Shark and Teeny have been consistently challenging duos whenever they have been in that possible tie position of trying to overthrow first place. They are not afraid to look for that all or nothing type of off spawn, and it's always going to be in the back of Panzer and Yako's mind.
We can't count out the prize pool too, you know. Shark Teeny, they already qualified, but it's a $10,000 difference going from second to first. So hey, they could also have that prize in mind. Teamish Darm, though, they want more than just the prize. They want that qualifying spot at the LAN, and currently being 7th place, where top 5 is enough to qualify them with the current leaderboard. One good game is all they could need.
Right now, it's a little bit of what we consider, I think, the eye of the storm here. Things seem calm on the surface, but it's only a matter of moments before the action really starts to kick off here. Reboots soon to be disabled. Just another minute or so. And Shark, Teeny, Zone Pool, Dirty Docks, the stars seemingly starting to align here for this duo. They might be looking for the performance of a lifetime in Game 5.
That stat is crazy too, by the way. Shark Teeny having spent more time on height than the rest of the lobby combined is ridiculous. It just shows how dominant they've been on that high ground. I would have liked to see, Swizzy and Pixie have a bit more chances, but with their drop spot being constantly contested, they're having a rough time being very healthy in these late games. But, still a good amount of matches left. A lot could still change and happen. For Vico and Malabuka, though, they're currently in qualifying range, and they want to maintain it.
A couple of pads to work with, too. So Fizz pad still an option for Vico and Malabuka if they want to make a little bit of a later arrival. I think it'll really just be down to the team on height to kind of keep tabs on the overhead space above them. But knowing that Shark and Teeny have implemented that same strategy in just another lobby earlier on today, it's definitely going to be something that they're for sure going to be wary of. And that height statistic really comes into play. You were talking about them being, very controlling from the high ground, Takata, but it also just showcases how excellent they are at just spatial awareness for where everybody else is in the lobby, because it's not just about applying pressure, it's also making sure that other teams can't challenge your position. And Shark and Teeny, they seem to have really got things figured out for the high ground.
I'm excited to see if that trend continues now. We'll have another shot of it here. I mean, it's zone literally pulled to their drop spot, so you can assume they're as stacked as you can be. That's now quite a passive rotate so far. No big focus is happening, but I might have spoken too soon. truly almost knocked. Darm cracked as now players do what they can to get to the 7th zone.
Darm and Deemish seemed like they wanted to get an early lead towards that front side low ground position, but might have bit off a little bit more than they can chew for the time being. Rest of the lobby kind of collapsing inwardly around them. They are surrounded right now. It's Bevies, great elimination there onto Cringe. Have the body loop to go for eventually, but on the other side of his wall, just as he's trying to take a moment to heal, he's immediately pressured inward. Pablo and Chino also trying to see what they could do. A little bit of a look back here of what went wrong there for Cringe. It was just such a quick confirmation on the elimination shot there. Not a whole lot left to be done.
So far, early, Zynox currently holding that kind of, I would say, height position. The issue is Zone is pulling to the opposite side, so it becomes tough to maintain it and very expensive if you try. So wouldn't be surprised if they opt to kind of use a mobility item instead and get ahead, as many players are currently doing.
It's one thing to move forward, it's another to actually be able to establish a little bit of space here. And Yefko, Panzer, they've done a great job at tarping out side of the low ground. Also fully aware, Size and Scary, just one layer above them, is now Pradaj, Gonzo. They're gonna look to take a stab towards height. Trying to make sure that they've got their connections where necessary. A bit of Flowberry Fizz too. At this stage, a chomp would not be, you know, the end-all be-all for them, but they are definitely within range of shockwave grenades to reach them, so they definitely need to be careful and make sure that they are applying more than enough pressure to prevent teams like Yefko and Panzer from going upwards. Glubsheet cracks. If they're not careful, Yefko and Panzer might be able to clean up one of them. Darm, Deemish, still front side low. That is the focal point.
Big place to be. Shark Teeny, though, opting also to play a bit lower this time around, as Teeny's been almost cracked. Healthy on materials, though. What the issue is they need to group up, as Deemish Darm applying a significant amount of pressure. They see Teeny go ahead of Zone and use that med miss, but be careful, or Gonzo and Pradaj gonna be aware enough to know the amount of players above them lurking.
Just waiting for Vico and Malabuka to kind of do a little bit of a standoff here, Wavy and Josh, but they're going to go up and then immediately right back down. Don't think that they want to try and challenge this one just yet, but it is going to force Vico and Malabuka to look for an earlier touchdown instead. Gonzo and Pradaj still trying to apply some pressure, but now the chop is successful. Vico, Malabuka from secondary height, just waiting to be fully healthy. But I think the high ground is truly what they are after here right now. Already starting to look up. They still have one more pad to work with, and sure enough, they just want to remain out of sight, out of mind. Let the lobby sort itself out.
Seeing this a lot more than the first finals. Now, the Fizz pad getting put to use, conserving a significant amount of mats and basically getting these 3 rotates without the pressure on them. But meanwhile, Yefko Panzer in the midst of it. Pressure from above, pressure from the sides, walls being broken every second, floor being deleted by a shockwave. But they're staying together, staying healthy, and a big pump is gonna come through.
Great job there from Panzer, just looking for the cutoff. And teams just don't even have a moment to respond. Pradaj and Gonzo, they flew too close to the sun. Pradaj gonna be the first one eliminated, but we've seen Gonzo time and time again from that solo position, clutch up in big moments. Yapko, Panzer willing to tank a little bit of storm for frontside control. They do have the Memphis grenades. Pablo and Chino, some successes in the backside of Zone. They find another elimination for their second total. But Shark and Teeny, Shark relatively low, does have a slurp juice. Forced to use a little bit earlier than he wanted to, but Deemish, nice cleanup onto Gonzo. That'll be the end of the Italian spree here, but Panzer losing Yapko along the way. It is not his first rodeo. It is not his first endgame as a solo either, but this is a desperate position here now, Takada. He doesn't have a whole lot of materials left to work with. He's going to be forced to use the last little bit of his fizz, and Pablo just cleaning house in the low ground. Finding that elimination onto Faded, but it's just not enough. He doesn't really get much benefit from stealing away that elim. And now Panzer cycling through. No more shockwaves remain. He's just going to be forced into an all-out brawl here. Wavy going to come out on top, though, and that'll be the end for Panzer and Yapko.
Fico, Malabuka earlier on, though, they were able to take height, as now Deemish Darm has lost his teammate. Diemish is forced alone, and he knows how important this match is. They are not currently in qualifying range, but with the top 3, with a win, it would be more than enough to put them up. But Vico, are you serious? Goes down to fall damage, leaving Malabuka alone. They finally got height, and now Diemish capitalizes. The perfect timing comes through. Just 38 HP, and the Fizz gets popped.
Absolutely devastating there for Vico and Malabuka, but there's only so much left to be done. Shark now gonna be cleaned up in the backside. Lusha and Howie, this is the performance that they needed to come up big time for the leaderboard. Gaps and Lusha with the confirmation on the victory royale there, but a big moment they needed to deliver, and the fact that they were able to find it, Takata, incredible scenes. Frankie, Levin, Harry, what's going on?
Well, it was exactly what Lusher and Howley needed. They weren't necessarily threatening the top 3, but now they're hopefully putting themselves into contention. Levin, how did they manage to steal that one?
Well, look, not in the manner in which you would expect. If you know anything about Lucia as a player, this guy is a guy who has been addicted to playing high ground since, you know, the early days. I remember back when I started out and he was playing back then, he was always a player who would play high. You look at the first reload, Frankie, he was playing with Mappy, a different teammate, and they both had the most time on height of any of the duos in the lobby, right? And so this is a high player. This game, again, I talked about the concerns I had, Harry, about teams trying to play high in the lobby with how Teeny and Shark had been approaching it. Those guys, again, switched up their approach and it benefited them greatly.
Yeah, it seems we're having a kind of a meta shift, to be honest. We'd expect going into this loads of shockwaves onto height, and what we're seeing is a bunch of launch pads, and if you're not carrying launch pads into endgame, it doesn't feel like you can really take height off, you know, when teams are so high up, that, like Malabuka and Vico were. Obviously, there was a bit of a tumble, which was unfortunate, but when that happens, you have to capitalize on it. You have to understand that, okay, this is our moment to get the win, whether it was the way you expected or not, and Lusher and Howley, they did exactly that, and as you said, pushing them up the leaderboard for sure.
Well, I'm going to shockwave us into a break situation, and when we come back, we'll be talking even more about game number 5. Don't judge me, 11-2K.
Daytime is back. Verstappen gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
3 more games remain in tonight's Reload Elite series, and it's starting to look very tight at the top. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see what changes have occurred after 5 games. Panzer and Yapko still proving themselves to be incredibly consistent. I believe it was a top 3 finish in that last game. But we've got to talk about Vico and Malabuka. Currently, they must be confident that they have the opportunity of booking their LAN spot. It's not entirely confirmed yet, but they're getting stronger from game to game, it feels like, Levin.
Yes, again, we all expected them to do much better during this qualifier final. They were surprise cons after game 1, Harry. You know, the Spaniards, Science and Scary were like, we're gonna come land on you guys. But they handled it so incredibly well. This was a bit unfortunate here. This was sort of what ended this game. Yeah, I think Vico would rather us not replay that. I actually did message him in the break to ask him what happened there. And he just kind of said, yeah, I don't know, but it is what it is. We're playing well, so we're gonna keep going in qual, right? So it's good to know that it's not completely rattled them and the momentum is gonna continue, hopefully.
I have every faith personally that they are going to manage to confirm it after the next couple of games. Demas and Dom, though, they massively disappointed themselves and their fans. I have to say, it sounds horribly harsh saying it out loud like that in the first finals. However, now they're picking up the pace as we go on. Demas was able to confirm that elimination on Malabuka to get themselves a 2nd spot. Harry, do you have any concerns about them going to these last few games?
Not so much. There was a game in the midway point where they were getting fought in the early game, right? And obviously we know in Reload, we talked about a bunch today, that if you get your early mid game a bit messed up, you end up struggling in the end games with how stacked they are. And at the moment, recently in the past couple of games, they've been managing to fix that really well. Obviously getting a 2nd place there, good game before that. And right, these are 2 very talented players we have. And I think if they can keep the consistency in the early mid game going, and they'll show their strengths in the end game, and they showed it last game, and they should be showing it more often.
When you look at this leaderboard, Levin, it does feel like order is in order, right? This was a less stacked lobby, I would argue, than we saw in the first finals, and I don't think anyone's looking like they're going to threaten the jurors we're expecting to put their spots. Although, we have to say, Bevies, do you think that he could be a disruptor here?
I mean, he's been performing well, so why not? I think there's a couple more games up for grabs, so we'll see some more teams rising. But ultimately, I think the teams we're seeing do incredibly well. Some of the teams people expected, because the game plan is set in place. The consistency has been there, and the execution has been top. So it's good to see great players playing well.
Yeah, and if you try and deny Shark and Tina their space, they're going to shut you down. Let's head to game number 6.
Getting close. It's getting close, Taco. Vestroki, Bevies, they did a good job, but not better than Demas and Darim, who are now holding that cutoff to qualify themselves to the LAN. They have 32 more points, more than Vestroki and Bevies, so let's see if that changes, because the next game is ready to go.
With Game 6 now underway, we've already seen a little bit of map shift development. So many more teams are kind of sending out just one lone wolf player. Hey, try and figure out whatever eliminations you can build. But Flixie and Chap, they have sort of hit a wall in a sense here at Takata, because these last few lobbies have just not netted out in their favor, and even the slightest bit falling short of even meeting the placement points metrics, and they are going to need every little point that they can scrounge up for these next 3 games if they want to throw themselves into the contention of that cutoff for the leaderboard to see whether or not they actually secure their LAN spot qual.
Yeah, I mean, from the first game that they won, they've then averaged like 17th place maybe, so they honestly are gonna need like to win every single game here. But you know, you could still go for the prize pool as well. Vico, though, not quite going his way this time around, trying to do what he can away from the drop spot. Last time, I believe it was at Stilt Town, and he picked up 1, but Koarma is gonna get the elim this time around.
And it's no real surprise to see Vico kind of going on tour. But with Flixie and Chap still lurking nearby in Slurpy Swamp, that could pose a little bit of a threat now. Swizzy, on the other hand, finally gets what he's after here in Stilt Town. Clean eliminations just mean that when it's short and concise, you'll have a lot more time to just focus on an uninterrupted loop path.
Just sworn in the feed. I saw some back and forths with Yapko Panzer early on, but it might have just been a knock, no full elim. As so far, Zynox and Truly are kind of leaving them alone. Quick replay from Glubshy Prax. Nice elim onto Swizzy.
A lot of back and forth. It's to be expected. Stilt Town has definitely been a central hub of action in today's competition. But now Flixie and Chav, they just want to get anything going. They've got to get the ball rolling. They're hoping that they might be able to scout out. Maybe it's our turn to aggress the Spaniards and see if we can pick up an elimination or two. That plan will be cut short. Instead, it's going to be an isolated solo here. No, Scary. He's going to try and reconvene, but his efforts are cut short. Completely separated from his duo, but Flixie just eating way too much damage. Saya's doing a great job just buying time. They might be split, but they're really not that far apart. And instead, Flixie eliminated Saya one more time. Gonna look to break through. Chap scrambling to just try and stay alive. He can't afford to go out just yet. He needs to make sure that Flixie gets that reboot off. And the Spaniards they're so intent on trying to chase this one down. They'll finally let it go. They know. They dive a little bit too far, then they run the risk of being picked off along the way. So they'll just sit tight for a moment here, but Chap and Flixie, they just cannot seem to find any ground to work with.
It's rough. It honestly is, but you know, good news is they didn't both get eliminated. They were able to kind of get out of that and now spend a bit of time to recuperate what they lost. Shark and Teeny, incredible loadout so far. Upper hand in this engagement, as Shark should be able to clean this one up quite easily. As Teeny now has recuperated his shield as well, and once again, they are looking incredibly dominant.
And poor Akira hasn't been spotted just yet. Mateo is going to draw a little bit more of the attention from Teeny and Shark for the time being. Well, Akira just continues to kind of hover around the southern portion of Dirty Docks. But Shark, Teeny, adamant to keep looking. The search party is not over just yet, but this is one lost and found that doesn't want to be discovered anytime soon here. And Kurama, he might be able to play a little bit of backup, a little bit of supportive fire just in case. But it is a dangerous game to play with Shark and Teeny. They have quite literally nothing to lose here, Takata, aside from prize pool positioning.
Looks like Shark was able to pick up one. Wasn't Akira, though. Meanwhile, Pablo Chino continuing to do what they've been doing throughout the whole day. No issues at all. Flixie Chap, are they going to play more aggressive here? They really got to make something happen. It doesn't have to be in the early game, though. Could just be some solid end games, as they're kind of just positioning themselves currently, but Demish Darm might not be too happy with that.
Almost starting to think that Chap and Flixie might have even just stolen away the loot from Demish and Darm, because we didn't see any eliminations there for Chap and Flixie. We do see 2 for Darm, and that little loot pile, though, that Chap and Flixie were able to kind of hand it off with, that's always nice. But Swizzy, Pixie, what's even nicer still is having more eliminations. But Strokey just barely hanging on by a thread here, and with a very healthy Swizzy and Pixie just kind of raining down from every direction. There's only so many places left to run. He will eventually be knocked and taken out. Still has the opportunity to reboot, but he'll have to figure out where exactly he can touch down on, because Glubshy and Prax, Swizzy, Pixie, both of these duos just have a very firm grasp with Stilt Town right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Stilt Town is very popular. But Pixie, Swizzy, so far have done a great job managing it to the extent that they can. Teeny has been knocked, though. It looks like they were handling it perfectly, but I don't know, something might have went wrong. Kurama, Akira choosing to disengage a bit here, but Shark, despite losing Teeny, he's not finished as he looks to pick up one more elimination.
It's Shark. He has zero fear, especially when it comes down to a 1v1. He is an absolutely crazy opponent to try and win that exchange with. But he's not going to be alone for much longer. Teeny has rebooted. Not only that, though, Matez also diving back into the mix. Gonna save his duo for right now. The Shark, Teeny, they'd rather reorient themselves, focus more on ensuring that Teeny is healthy enough for them to play their mid and end game.
Yeah, quick back off as med miss come through. A lot of items being used up to stay up here, but they're gonna opt to go back in the zone, and hopefully Josh Wavy don't get a repeat from a couple games ago, as we see a replay of how Swizzy was able to pick up Fastroki. This is devastating for Bevies and Fastroki, being one placement off qualifying range to the LAN, and Darm Demish looking so strong in this match. Hopefully they're able to do something.
A lot less hopeful, though, when you know that it's a duo like Swizzy and Pixie that are really chasing after you right now. Pablo and Chino. But this is kind of a team that I highlighted at the start of the day, and it seems like they've started to build up a little bit here now in Takata. You know, you never want to count your eggs before they hatch. Truly and Zynax still have quite a ways to go in these remaining 3 lobbies, but it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish when it comes to this kind of format. And we already saw one big pop-up performance and how much it impacted their actual placement in the overall leaderboard. Broke into the top 10.
Gonna move up now, more center zone. You can even recuperate some metal on this bridge. Yapko, Panzer on the opposite end. Malibuka Vico down below. A lot of big names in this vicinity.
Not really a fan of this, though, for Pradaj and Gonzo compared to what's nearby. They definitely seem to be in the weakest standing, just loadout and health-wise. But they're going to remain undercover for right now, sticking to that ultimate low. Malibuka and Vico, on the other hand, seem to be sizing up the competition, trying to determine whether or not they want to strike just yet. And Teeny, Shark, they love these lurk plays. And Wavy. Oh, the medkit's such a trap here. They're just waiting. Josh might have a chance to catch a glimpse of Shark and Teeny. You have to remember, they've got to use his Medmist grenade eventually, but they left that medkit as bait whole day long. And Josh knows it. He's going to be next on the tracks. Shark in pursuit. Josh will survive, amazingly enough. And I believe he bought just enough time. And Shark, he's going to fall victim to losing a little bit too much HP. I mean, the 2-tick storm, that's where things can become a little bit of a problem here.
They were in zone for so long. I think Wavy Josh would have thought, you know, there's no way they're still here, right? And we've been in zone for this long, but it's always a chance, especially in reload. I mean, I think I saw 40 players up. Not a single player has been fully eliminated. You can see in the top left, we've had a lot of reloads coming through, but no duo completely out of the game yet. Most stacked match so far, already being in 6th zone. Whole lobby still up and running. This is going to be a very chaotic mid to late game.
That's why Shark didn't care in the slightest, though, about getting initially knocked. Slightly careless, but when you have Medmist grenades, when you have the entirety of the mending left over too, he cleared it out. That's the biggest issue, because Josh and Wavy, they're not even going to be able to utilize anything from that space. I'm fairly confident that Shark and Teeny absolutely left no remains there, so it's going to be very difficult for that duo to actually work their way out of Dirty Docks. Pablo, Chino, slightly different sites here. Chap, Flixie overhead, and we're approaching stage now for Flixie and Chap where you're not really able to get that momentum going at the start of the game, but they're still able to just cling on long enough that I think they are going to recognize the fact that they need to be aggressive, because they're going to need elimination points along with some strong placements if they want to overtake for the leaderboard.
Yeah, I might see them go for an all or nothing type of play here, but we're about to reach reloads getting disabled with every single player alive still, so this is crazy.
I'm not even the least bit shocked, though, Takata, because every single one of these duos has kind of acknowledged the fact that you're never really out. You still got a dog in this fight as long as at least one of you is left standing, because The only thing you can really control is your own performance, but some of these other teams, if they start clashing a little bit too much with each other, and then you just get to have that slow and steady wins the race type of mentality. You never really know how many points you can really build up for that leaderboard action overall. And Vico Malabuca, very similar methods from these loadouts right now, Takata. We saw just how effective it was for them in that last lobby with the fizz pad plays, and I'm waiting to see if they choose to take their chances with it yet again here.
I want to see a big game from Vico Malabuca. They lost out. I think they got 4th place. So they lost out on over 20 points of placement by going down when they did with the prime position they had. So hopefully we can see another top 5 game at least from them this time around. Good to see Fastroki and Bevies doing what they can. Had a rough early game, but one elim is all it's going to take to get the refresh. And I spoke too soon on Malabuca, as now he's knocked down. Vico left alone to try and bring his teammate back up. Hopefully his opponents don't full push him here, but with the pressure on, dropped into another player's box. It's only a matter of time until Vico goes down.
Wait a second, I lost track of Vico.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, there was just so much pressure. The entirety of the lobby just seemingly deciding, okay, this is the area that we are all going to spray simultaneously. But Yapko Panzer, they're also in a pretty tough position here. They're going to be forced to go all the way down. They have managed to find a little bit of an isolated spot, but Faded Vision and Khan, they're just trying to get towards front side quickly as the next duo. Pablo and Chino will find a knock onto Teeny. That's going to leave Shark in a detrimental position, but Pablo's got to be really careful with this one. You can't just go all in from the jump. Shark is still there lingering, but Sharky doesn't have a whole lot of HP to work with, and he'll be taken out. The revive for Teeny is all he was after. He did such a great job pushing Pablo back, but it came at such a steep cost.
A huge opportunity now for all the players down below. A lot of big names on the top of the leaderboard have been knocked out already. As for Strokey Bevies choosing to play below, but it's going to be Pixie, Swizzy up on height. They held it for 8 out of 8 games in the heats, and now they're looking to do the same here in finals.
And not only that, but they don't have to worry about Shark and Teeny contesting them for it. They're not going to have to worry about Vico Malabuca either, but they will be concerned with Truly and Zynox playing from that secondary height. Granted, Deemish Darm might just do the dirty work for him. It's Pablo, another solo, another one of our leading teams here. But he can still put a lot of damage into this lobby. And Truly, Zynox from way up overhead. Swizzy and Pixie did a great job the last time we saw them in a controlling height position. The Takata at shooting down Sharkatini when they went for the fizz pad play. So will they do the same for Truly and Zynox?
So far, they're getting a free rotate, and they don't want to risk it if they don't know there's anybody above them. Bevies for Strokey doing what they can to stay ahead. Deemish Darm looking for another big game. They've already cemented themselves in qualifying range, and other top 3 or top 5 could push them even higher and secure that spot as they get ahead and get closer to second height. Taking peeks up above, they might go for a retake.
Deemish and Darm don't want it to be close, though. They're going to look to just chop out height instead. They want to try and manage their current position. Chap just doing what he can to try and stay up on his feet. Shields falling so incredibly low. That HP just depleting at such a rapid rate here. But Pablo from overhead, he's going to drop down immediately. Pablo finds the big shots onto Bevies. The elimination he needed right in the nick of time, but for Strokey, still guarding the body, doesn't want to let it go for free. Pablo, deep backside of zone though, he's going to still have to try and work his way forward. Is now Deemish Darm firmly in control of this secondary height layer, but Pablo doing everything in his power to try and secure as many placement points as he can muster up here. Faded Pigeon and Khan also moments before they clash head-on with Darm and Deemish.
Glove sheet cracks though. Holding on strong. They're healthy. They have mats. They're trying to get back ahead of zone, but Swizzy and Pixie have held on to height. They overthrew Deemish Darm when they tried contesting them, as now they've used a lot of materials, but still looking incredibly healthy. 72 builds. The issue is Deemish Darm, after trying to contest height, they ran out of a majority of their builds. Now they're ahead of zone using that med mist, but they're going to need a refresh soon.
But they're playing from that front side position, so they'll even look back and just see if they can encounter Faded and Khan. After all, sure enough, Deemish gonna recognize, hey, there's still a team about a layer up from where we're currently at. And they'll be forced to drop down. They need a chance to try and recuperate some of those shields, but Strokey still running as well as a solo. Pablo still hanging on. 0 builds remain. It is an elimination or nothing at this stage for him. He's going to have to find one ASAP. Another duo just underneath. These are his edits. He finds a big opening shot, but it's not the full damage he needs to confirm the knock. Just one more good play shot could be the difference maker here, but he can't see through the Memphis grenade and firing.
No.
Gonna take full advantage for it. For Strokey now underneath one of our other few solos in this lobby right now, and he is doing everything in his power to try and pickaxe through these pre-existing builds, but backside of zone, there's so much to work through.
Solos showing dominance as Devish. He's got to be careful. Goes down to Storm. Gets a decent placement, but is it going to be enough to hold on? As now Swizzy Pixie have done an amazing job of holding height this whole end game, basically, as Lusha Howley now pick up another. They're down in the dirt, full low, as players dropping down like flies. They cannot miss their shots here. They're out of materials, but Swizzy has been launched all the way down. He has 3 more shockwaves. He's going to try getting back up, but truly is going to be on the receiving end.
A little bit of Siphon coming through in that final hour, though, and truly will be cut short. Low ground claims another. Swizzy, Pixie, back up on top, back in the driver's seat. Faded Pigeon underneath, though. Great elimination onto Hallie. That Siphon just going to continue helping him tarp his way forward. But Faded and gone. They are just waiting for the prime opportunity to strike. Swizzy doesn't need to do anything, though. He's got Pixie underneath to finish everything else off. That was a big showing, though, out of Swizzy and Pixie. A lobby that they definitely needed a huge win in here at Takata. And that Victory Royale's got to be feeling oh so good right now. Frankie, let us hear it.
And Pixie and Swizzy were not looking pretty for a spot in the LAN finals before that game. Will it be enough? We're not quite sure. However, Levin, it definitely looked like they were in control of the situation, probably for the first time all evening.
Yeah, finally showcasing why, we both considered them one to watch, right? We knew they were a hype team. We knew they were a team that were going to be aggressive for it. We saw that a bit in the first game, and it just seemed to fall off completely. There were so many end games today where we just weren't even seeing them participate in them, Harry. And so it's good to see them finally pick up some momentum, but they have a mountain to climb, even with that win, to be able to put themselves in a good spot to qualify.
Yeah, it's a tough task for them. They contested at Stilt Town, so not only is your early game tough, now the later we get into the tournament, more teams need that win. More teams need the pop-off performances, so their playstyle towards high ground's only going to get harder and harder, and to be honest, it might be too little too late, but we're going to have to wait and see.
Are these players that need leadership, Levin? Is that naive for me to say?
Well, look, it was always the question asked of this duo, right? The double fragger duo, is this gonna work? I think with last time we had duos in EU, obviously it was, Vico and Flixie that was so successful as sort of like more double fragger or super aggressive. And I think coming back into it, people thought we're gonna see similar with Swizzy and Pixie, and it's not quite been there yet, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. I think in these two players' case, we're gonna keep asking those questions if they keep having tournaments like this.
And we'll have plenty more questions in a few minutes.
Gets the jump on the Marion, stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
If you miss, you gon' regret it. Before you crawl, know I'm running it all. I'm built up like a pharaoh, now they praying. life into my place. Earned everything that I claim. Nothing ever could replace me. 3-4-3-4, square dance on the floor. This is not a ball. I'm above it all. Start, I see my glow up where you supposed to go. Proceed on the low, can't lose and find the go. Leave me in the zone, I take your mind and then I snatch your soul. Turn up the track, going deep, I'm in the zone. You know I'm about to go, harder than hard to go. When the lights shine bright, that's my show. Burn up and see the glow, I'm gonna make it known. I get it, they love my whole steady. They got so listen, told you this ain't hypothetical. Answer the call, prove this once and for all. Can't reach me with an arrow, summer nights I never fall. No cattle, the goat don't wear a saddle. Go riders off my body, cut them off, they yak and sloppy. Already, I consume the petty. The vision's 2020, believe your eyes are winning. Turn up the track, going deep, I'm in the zone. You know
Welcome back to the Reload Elite Series. If you just tuned in, you probably would be surprised to hear that Swizzy and Pixie picked up a victory royale. But if you've been watching all night, you'll probably be surprised because they haven't necessarily had the best night so far. They're finally showing up in the lobby. We'll see soon, very soon, if they can really find some consistency going into the last 2 games. Let's take a look at the leaderboard though, because we definitely have had a shift at the top. Khan and Faded, they got a victory royale. They very nearly got a second in that last game, Coach Harry. And this is a duo I didn't necessarily have my best hopes for going into this one, just because they're such big hitters, and I didn't have them down as one of them, and I feel like I was wrong.
For sure, I think this team kind of went under the radar, to be honest. You have so many aggressive teams who want to fight and want action to happen that we didn't really talk about Faded and Khan, and you can kind of think of them as a mini Vico and Flixie or Chap and Flixie, just 2 good German fighters, one of them being Controller and Khan. And I mean, they're showing it here. Like, they're not even getting huge elimination games similar to Teeny and Shark, and they're still able to get deep into the end games. They're still able to get to points where, you know, it's the final moments, the small moments of, can we take out height? Can we maybe shockwave up and maybe fight them for it? And to be honest, they're looking really, really solid. And if they keep it up, I have no reason to see why they can't qualify for the LAN.
Are you excited to potentially see them on LAN, Levin?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we look, regardless of who makes it out of the EU, I'm going to be backing them for sure, right? Because I just want to see EU boys continue to dominate at these LAN events, you know? It feels good to be able to say that after a couple of years now, but I'm sure they would be a fun team to watch and would represent well, yeah.
But will they be able to dominate? I'm so interested to pick your brains on that one. If they make it through, I'm guessing I'll be able to. But right now, we've got to head back to our casters. It's time for Game 7.
You're not fooling anybody, Levin. We all know you are NAC's #1 supporter, okay? Social media would never lie to the rest of us. But, Takada, Game 7 about to be underway. That leaderboard was looking very spicy with just the way that things are starting to line up.
Yeah, 4th and 5th, tied on points. 20-point difference between qualifying range and 7th. So a lot is going to happen in these final matches, and I'm excited to see it. Demish Dharm have held on so far to that cutoff, but they're tied in points with Khan and Faded. The battle bus is ready, so let's head right into game number 7.
And one of the moments that everybody's kind of been waiting for is to see whether or not Swizzy and Pixie are going to be able to replicate that big pop-up performance they just had.
Whoa.
But things are really heating up here at Steamy Stacks. The whole lobby's invited, by the way, and Yatko Panzer, they're going to be some of the first to find an elimination here. But truly, Synox, Callie as well off in the distance. Believe it was just so many teams kind of trying to figure out, hey, maybe it is the perfect opportunity to try and look for a little bit of a surprise con here, but it just doesn't always work in your favor. Swizzy Pixie, on the other hand, Stiltown, it's been bumping since the get-go, Takada.
Oh no, I think I saw Demish get knocked at Steamy, and Dharm actually also went down shortly after. One of the duos has been completely knocked out. If it's them, that's going to be tragic, but Cracks and Glebchi for now. Stiltown just getting what they can as quickly as possible because they know how popular of a spot this is.
definitely be tragic scenes for Darm and Deemish if that's the case, but Pixie, Swizzy, they're looking to shut down the dreams right now of Glubshi and Prax. They've already got Glubshi. Now they just need to take out Prax, but they're not going to have the chance just yet. And it is Deemish and Darm that have been confirmed for the full elimination. They are our first duo to be taken out here, Takata. It is going to come down to a Game 8 performance for them, but we don't have time to think about that right now because scenes here at Stilt Town are just still continuing to build. Prax, Glubshi, hiding, Pixie, Swizzy destroying everything. There won't be much of Stilt Town left at this rate as Prax barely managing to stay alive himself. Shockwave picked up, Crash Pad comes out, and Prax with nowhere left to run. He knows that this is the end of the road. He'll have to hedge his bets on that next reboot. But with Pixie and Swizzy looking at him, that's dangerous.
Might be a long shot, but I believe they were literally like 18th place, Swizzy Pixie. With the last match getting the victory royale, it's bumped them to 11th place, and they're not even that far behind the cutoff. If they get another win here, even a top 3, with 2 more matches to be played out, it's definitely possible to see one of the biggest comebacks we've seen in the Reload Finals. But Chino goes down to Howley and Lusha. What are we seeing?
Howley was hiding at the bottom of this cliff for I don't even know how long. I caught a glimpse of him when we were looking at that action over in Stilt Town, and the fact of the matter that he's able to find elimination points onto Chino there, that is a pretty big turnaround, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough, Takata. He just only had one build. There's nowhere that he could possibly try and swim off to. Pablo and Chino will have the final laugh here, but at least Ali was able to find one elimination. That's still points.
Shark, though, gonna go down to Akira Kurarma. Good news is Teeny's still up and running. Hopefully Shark doesn't get kind of farmed here out of the air. Quick replay of what went wrong. Hit a nice initial shot, but I guess his teammate just came back after.
Why does it always look so easy when Shark does it, though, man? He's just smooth. His mechanical capabilities are just obscene at his age, but Teeny masterminding another Game 7 performance here. Shark Teeny gonna take a moment. This Volko cringe. Now realizing they've got to go on the aggressive here up against Prax. They know that this is a player that's been consistently having to play for the reboots, and everybody wants to punish for elimination points on the duos that don't really have a leg to stand on.
If Prax goes down here, though, Glubshi just got eliminated. Prax has to do what he can to stay up as long as possible so his teammate reloads back in. And it looks like he's done it. With the knock, he gets eliminated. Glubshi in the sky now cannot get taken out. This is one of the teams that are quite close to qualifying range, with now Darm and Deemish being eliminated in a 5th place, 220 points. It opens up that qualifying range for the players right below, and Glubshi Prax are one of them, alongside Malavuka Vico being the team literally right under Deemish and Darm, 10 points behind them. Now with already an Elam on the board, they're getting closer and closer to taking that land spot.
And the worst part about it still for Darm and Deemish, where you've really got to feel that gut-sinking feeling. Malabuka, Vico, they are timing it between Prax and Glubshi, waiting for the other to begin their reboot. Vico immediately starting to go for the hunt, but he's done toying with his food. Another duo wiped out here. Glubshi and Prax won't have an opportunity to try and extend any more placement or even elimination points. That's just going to be 3 quick elims. Malabuka and Vico. But Akira is trying to take matters into his own hands now. Rude and Kashi. Don't know if they're fully aware of the fact they're a little bit too preoccupied with making sure that they don't get collapsed on by Shark and Teeny. This lurk play by Akira, the moment they break through this wall, if they see him, oh, sure enough, it's been spoiled. Akira didn't want to take the risk of being 2 players versus 1.
Yeah, potential to get boxed up there. Made the noise when he dropped down. No longer pursuing. Volko cringe. Nothing too close to them. They're gonna make their way more center zone. Gonna go towards the loot drops. Get a sneak peek at the next zone.
And every little bit counts here, especially for a team like Volca and Cringe. They've already watched other duos on the leaderboard send themselves forward off of a big pump-off performance, hoping that they could try and more or less do the same with these last couple of remaining lobbies. But Teeny and Shark still hanging out at Dirty Docks. Not too many teams feeling bold enough to really want to try and challenge them for that. If anything, it's always just moments of desperation why we see players in their space trying to escape from other teams that are just chasing them down for reboot points. But Fired and Cashy, if they're not, if they overextend just a little bit, that'll be all the space that a team like Shark and Teeny needs to look for more eliminations.
Flixie goes down on the feed. Chino Pablo continuing the safe route. Kind of see a bit of the top four. The top four is a lot more separated than 8th through 5th. It's incredibly close. Even 9th through 10th through 5th, honestly. The whole mid-section of the leaderboard right outside of the LAN qual is incredibly close. It's like 20 points that separates them, 25. So after this match, there are going to be some big changes to the leaderboard.
For sure, and I think a bigger switch up too is that for some of these duos where they've been sending out, just one member to go hunt down extra eliminations, play a little bit of spoiler, interrupt some loot paths early on. Well, if you keep doing that, other teams are going to eventually notice, hey, that means that one of you is a solo at your original drop spot. And I think for, take example, Darman Deemish. That's what got them cleaned up so early on. And it's just something where you now have to kind of reevaluate, is this the same method that we want to employ with our final game of the day? Because that could be the end of the road for the Reload Elite Series Finals Qual 2 here. And those land spots, I mean, everybody wants to find their spot performing at LAN, but only 3 teams can make it, Takata.
That's true. We do have 4 finals total. This is the second one, so there'll be more opportunities, but the sooner the better. If you're players like Shark, Teeny, even Pablo and Chino, they already, qualified, so they can play a lot more freely in these matches. And as finals goes on, there's going to be more duos in that same situation, which makes it that much scarier for the other teams trying to get that qual spot. Truly, Zynox, 191 points. They were 8th place going into this match, just 3 off being in qualifying range, about 30 points behind them. Now with Deemish Storm gone, this could be a massive match for them.
And that's exactly the opportunity they've kind of just been waiting to strike for. Not calling it hesitancy, but that little bit of passiveness. They're just waiting to ensure that they have the best possible setup for a deep endgame run here. Flixie, Chap, they are really going to have to go all out, not even just in this lobby, Takata, but also in Game 8 if they want any sort of opportunity. But if there is a duo with the fighting power behind them to do so, it's definitely Chap and Flixie.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, though. They are on that bottom half of the leaderboard, and to be honest, they're going to have to win this game. Good news is, like you said, anyone's going to do it. They got 5 eliminations already. Hopefully they can have a big end game, kind of get their hopes up a little bit, or increased. Shark Teeny playing it slow once again at the boom and base now. They've pulled zone. They're just going to stay here for as long as they can.
It's just like the main memo for Chap and Flixie, though, is just make it to the end game. The one time that we've really seen them have an end game run, I mean, they won the lobby. So it's just about getting to that stage. They've had a lot of issues with how some of the mid game has ended up for them, but anything goes. And it seems like they've definitely got a fire lit underneath them right now with those 5 early eliminations. Pretty solid loadouts here too. Good mobility, slurp juice. So they have the items that they need if they want to try and make a strong performance here. But there are so many other powerful contenders that they're going to have to deal with too. Just saw Yepko Panzer, Chino Pablo. Granted, it's probably in their favor for Chino, Pablo, Sharkantini to remain inside that top 3 of the leaderboard because it does just cause that overall extension for everyone else, since they are teams that are already confirmed for that LAN finals.
Zone, luckily enough, this time around isn't pulling towards the water, so hopefully we don't see a rough end game like we did previously. Vico Malabuca had it in a little late, but didn't get focused. Let's hope they don't go down early in the end game like the last match. They need a big game here to solidify themselves on that top half of the leaderboard.
Once Vico gets moving, though, I mean, what more is there that needs to be said? Even just look at their Div Finals performances. 2 weeks back-to-back of them repeating chap, though. This is bad news bears all around. Shots coming in from 3 different directions. All that material account that they spent time building up, it's all for naught as Chap will be knocked. Devastating scenes here right now for Flixie. And he's not going to have the opportunity to try and play for the revive, even with it being so much faster in reloads. It's just not a chance. A body also being brought back into Truly in Zynox's box. That's their space, that's their loot now. But Flixie as a solo, he's going to have to get it all done and then some. Meanwhile, Vico, Malabuca, they just continue trying to creep forward. It's not even about playing catch-up here, Takata. It's about just taking a lead firmly in their hands. They don't want it to come close. They want to be completely cemented inside of the qual position for LAN.
When they've got everything lined up to do so in this match, all they need to do is close it out. The Strokey Bevies opting to quickly get ahead of zone here. Will they build up, though, or just play a safer route? They are right behind that cutoff of qualifying, so they cannot afford to go down early here.
And that's where it becomes very difficult, I think, on the mental side of things for players, for these teams. You know, you don't want to overthink it, but at the same time, you don't want to overcommit. But if you hesitate just one moment too long, you've got to have some confidence in your plays. After all, if you want them to be successful, Shark, Teeny, just a team that exudes confidence at every single opportunity, though. Pixie, Swizzy, now applying a lot of good pressure onto Hallie and Lusha. Don't really know if they're fully aware of just how low Hallie even was in that instance, but they'll forfeit for the time being. Content to just have their own space claimed. Truly, Zynox starting to take a peek towards the high ground. It has been a strategy for them to look at height, but holding onto it is a whole different affair in a lobby like this.
Khan doing what he can to play it out as a solo. 220 points. They were the duo that was tied with the Emission Darm. Khan has a lot of weight on his shoulders here to get a big game. Vico Malabuca, though, both players looking healthy. Could have more mats, but all it takes is a quick refresh. Volko cringe. They've been spotted trying to get that free rotate, but Pixie, Swizzy, they're clearly aware of this. We mentioned it before, Pixie, Swizzy, they were in the bottom half of the leaderboard, 18th place, I believe. But that victory royale brought them up to top 11, and if they're able to get a back-to-back, it's going to be exactly what they needed for the comeback.
That was big looks, though, for Vico and Malabuca. They were able to find an elimination, which means a little bit of cypher materials to work with, too. But now Swizzy, Pixie from overhead. Yapko in a very preposterous position right now. He's a solo, and he's got to keep trying to work his way through. These are his builds for right now, but there are just so many teams lurking nearby. Khan, very similar position, except even less health to work with. He'll be forced to play these med kits a little bit earlier than he's been hoping for. Does have shield potions to possibly utilize too, but Yapko just trying to break through. Zone closing in. Backside can only protect you for so long. Eventually, you're going to have to clash head on, and Yapko delivers, finds an elimination here. Needed that so badly. Going to buy him just a little bit more mat count, a little bit more materials, a little bit more space to breathe.
So many solos playing right now. Malabuka, Yapko, Khan, all playing alone. Meanwhile, Pixie and Swizzy continue to hold on to height, but Yapko's gonna do what he can to stay ahead. Issue is running low on mats. All he's got is wood. Khan with the quick elimination, but he needs to pick up the full elim, unable to do so. Yapko now continuing his wrath as a solo.
Just watching the body roll down the hill, knowing that that siphon could have been enough to just get him one place further. But Chino, Pablo, they've got no time to waste. They're gonna look to just overtake this frontside low position. And Yapko, 4 builds remain. Can he find another shot? He's got the purple sentinel. He just needs to connect it. A little bit of Flowberry Fizz. Trying to gauge whether or not it's going to be Malabuka that might be landing right on top of his noggin, but Yapko will fall. No more points can be secured now for that duo, and Swizzy Pixie all along inside the clouds here, just looking down at the rest of the lobby, and Shark, Teeny, familiar scenes here now as they look for an elimination onto Gino. They're not going to be able to find it just yet. Pablo can't go for the revive. He's just doing everything in his power to even try and stay alive for right now. Slurp does come out, but it's not going to be enough. He will eventually be claimed here, and Akira just powering through.
Sharktini, though, they said, we can do height, we can do low, it doesn't matter, we can do it all, as they continue to push down through the dirt. Akira on the other side. Will they knock on his door, though, as Swizzy Pixie continue to hold height, looking to get the back-to-back, as Shark now big pump onto Howley, big pump onto Akira. He gets 2 now. A 2 versus 2, height versus low. Swizzy Pixie, they need this win from the bottom half of the leaderboard, climbed up to the middle section, and now if they get this victory royale, it's putting them closer and closer to qualifying range. But Shark and Teeny, they're not gonna leave it easy for them.
But it's been flip-sided. Swizzy gonna be sent packing. The shockwaves just throwing him way too deep in the storm, but it doesn't even matter. Swizzy will connect. Shark and Teeny. We thought for a moment that we were gonna see the upset, but Swizzy and Pixie, when they needed it most, yet again, they find their victory royale. Frankie, let's see what you gotta say.
We were discussing how much Pixie and Swizzy needed to have a fantastic game after their last victory royale, and they've gone and done the back-to-back. They were 50 points behind contention for a LAN spot, but now they're going to be feeling very satisfied indeed, Coach Harry.
Yeah, I mean, I said it might have been too little too late. They've shut me up. They know exactly what to do, right? They found the formula. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's this late into the tournament. Take height early, and they're holding it so much better than they did in heats. Even if they get chopped out, or even if a team tries to come up for it, they're still managing to stay on top. And I mean, I thought more teams would go for it, but they're able to just hold on, and then when it gets to the final moments, the composure that even when they got shockwaved on by Teeny and Shark, they just miss and storm, re-shockwave themselves, and clutch out the win.
Yeah, I mean, what a game for these guys. It's funny because before their first win, you did make a joke, right, when we were in the green room. You were like, yeah, I mean, if they just win like back-to-back games, then yeah, they're probably in a chance to call, right? And I sort of laughed at you going, yeah, I don't know about that, man. Like back-to-back games, I don't think that can happen. But they've already done 2 out of 3. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. Again, we talked about the talent these two have. They've finally started to figure things out. And I think if you've been watching competitive EU recently, there's been examples of teams having these late resurgences, right? Vico and Malabuka just yesterday in the Div Cup final did similar. So it's good to see these guys picking things up now.
We'll be talking about the leaderboard after this break, so don't go anywhere because change is afoot.
2 teammates have his back. Smash gets the drop on the Marion, stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
Welcome back to the Reload Elite Series. There's just one game remaining before we find out the next 3 duos who'll be heading to the LAN Championships in August. And there is everything to play for right now. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. Swizzy and Pixie did get back-to-back victory royales. You can see that has taken them into 4th position, up a whopping 7 places. They're currently needing to pull everything together and keep it clenched to get themselves another big finish. But we should take a look at number 6. Howley and Lucia have been particularly threatening in the last few games, 11-2K, and they are the biggest threat to Vico, Malabuka, and Swizzy and Pixie's chances right now.
Yeah, I mean, these guys just on the outside. And I mean, it has been quite the resurgence for them, Harry, right? They started off the day incredibly slow. The last 3 games, 1 win, 3rd place, 4th place. They've changed the approach. We've known these guys to be a hype team. They've been able to dominate playing on mid and low. I'm really, crossing my fingers hoping they could do it, because I feel like this would be a great surprise team to come through and make it.
Yeah, you just didn't expect it. Like the same way we were talking about Fade and Nakan, another team who is right on the cusp of qualifying to the LAN, and they're another team who no one really expected. And you can just see how close it is from 10th upwards. Only 45 points towards the qualification, and you might think, oh, that's quite a lot. Swizzy and Pixie were 50 points off going into that game, right? So one big game, if you're in the top 10, can be the difference between qualifying to the LAN and missing out.
Coach Harry, if you could be talking to Vico and Malabuka right now, what would you be saying to them? Because we saw Mali challenging for height as a solo in that last game, and that doesn't feel like a risk he should be making in this next game.
My advice would be get away from Chap and Flixie. They're a team who need to catch up. And if you know Chap and Flixie, if they need to catch up, they're not just going to try and win the game. They're going to try and drop 20 elims. They're trying to get as much as possible from this game. They're not going to go down without a fight. So if I was them, run away as fast as you can and just try and get yourself into the end game where you can show what you're made of, to be honest.
Look, when it comes to final games in EU of late, there's been no team better than Vico Malabuka. They've stepped up every single time, no matter how rough the start to the tournament's been. There is no bigger time than now. The whole world is watching Vico Malabuka. What will you do?
Well, let's find out. It's game number 8.
Thank you for setting the stage. They are the literal cutoff at 249 points, Vico Malabuka, but also, we already said it, shout out to Swizzy Pixie. They were literally the bottom of the leaderboard, 18th place. They jump up to 11th with a victory royale, and now they jump up to 4th with a back-to-back win. Can they close this one out? All is up to this last game.
Yeah, Swizzy, Pixie, they caught a vision or a vibe from what Vico and Malabuka have been doing in these Div Cup finals. Takata, just the final hour ringers, but the job is not done. There's still so much work that needs to take place here, because as Harry highlighted, top 10 closer than ever before. So game 8, let's see who's got it.
Some of the names right outside the cutoff: Howley, Lucia, Khan, Faded, Beamish, Darm, Fastroki, Bevies, Akira Kararma. These are all names that have a shot of taking that qual spot to the $2.5 million championship LAN, but kicking it off with straight action. Fastroki goes down, Truly picks up 1. As the pressure is on.
Potentially ended for some of these duos, depending on how they fare. No one completely eliminated just yet, but the first strikes reigning in Truly's favor. That's always got to be a great sensation, but there is still so much left to unfold here. Stilt Town. This might be the calmest we've ever seen it, Takata.
Yeah, 100%. Pixie, Swizzy, if anything, are on fire right now. They're ready for the contestation. They've had it all day at Stilt Town. It's been a party, but they are the ones hosting it, as now the pressure, lays a bit low, despite there being another duo close by. I'm curious to see how aggressive they're going to play this one out.
You could see Malabuka was by himself, so you know that Vico is just being an agent of destruction somewhere across the map. Whether or not he's successful in his adventures for finding those additional elimination points, only time will tell, but as of right now, Boom and Base is all Khan and Faded Pigeon. how many people would have had this duo as a potential for one of those land spot quals, Takata. I mean, it just seems like there are so many teams within striking range, and every single one of them being so aware of it. Glubshy frags, but it's going to be Pixie and Swizzy that take down Malabuka. We'll have to wait. One duo has been confirmed removed from this lobby, Takata. And whether or not Swizzy's going to be able to stay alive, only Pixie will be able to have the solution for that. But lurking nearby, saw Bevies and Glubshy. Don't know if he's aware of the fact he might even potentially get pinched here. Pixie's just trying to buy a little bit of time, just wants to let Swizzy touch down. A whole lot of resources having already been claimed, though, at Stilt Town, and fortunately for Swizzy, Pixie was able to just defend the space long enough. Glubshy Prax not really comfortable with trying to go for an all-out brawl there.
Yeah, it'd be devastating to go down off spawn after getting back-to-back wins, but Glubshy hit a nice shot onto Swizzy. Pixie was low, too. That got a little too close for comfort as we switch on over to the north side by Steamy Stacks. Pablo getting rebooted back in. Chap Flixie, 3 elims on the board, looking to at least get a bit of that prize pool.
The analyst could not have said it better, though. We see 3 eliminations already for Chap and Flixie. If anyone is ever going to just throw it or lay it all on the line, it will be that duo. They need a huge performance here. Teeny, Shark, they're going to be crashing down on Kashi and Firen instead, looking to wipe out this duo entirely. All Teeny has to do is connect one more shot. He's got Shark as well, just to provide a little bit more of that aggressive maneuvering. But Kashi just sliding every which way. He's held on long enough. Crash Pad going to send him right back to where he doesn't want to be, though. The most unfortunate sequence of events here. But at least he stayed alive long enough for Firen to come back down from the reboot.
It looked like a training range. Like you knew he was about to bounce up in the sky. Shark Teeny were just waiting for it to happen so they could laser him. But hey, like you said, it was enough time for his teammate to get back in it. So pretty good so far. Deemish, though, goes down. Good news is Darm's still up. So potential reload coming into play as Chap and Flixie continue to push everybody in sight.
This is the worst duo you could encounter right now because Chap and Flixie, they know that the only option they have is to just rack up as many eliminations as possible with a strong placement finish. And that initial elim onto Deemish, sending him into the reboot cycle when every single team is just so desperate for whatever points they can muster up. It is so ridiculous now for Darm and Deemish because it was right there. Their chances of being at the land, Takata, almost slipping through their fingers right now. It's Glubshy, another elimination. Everybody kind of just hunting each other.
Yeah, this is going to be a true final match of the finals. It's what you love to see when it's this close. Teeny Shark so far, though, have solidified a good spot in first. However, they are just about 20 points behind Yapko and Panzer, so any of these eliminations are going to help them get that $10,000 difference between first and second. And Kurama Akira being potentially on the receiving end is not where you want to be. As both players now eliminated, they are now knocked out of these finals.
A bit dastardly there from Shark and Teeny, but they were not going to give any kind of room there for Akira and Kurama. Wiping out your competition, wiping out strong teams that could potentially threaten your LAN performance. That seems to be a big emphasis there for Shark and Teeny. Is Yapko, Panzer getting a little bit fraggy here at Steamy Stacks. They found Josh and Wavy. They've already got 3 eliminations too, and it's going to be Zynox who falls as well. Truly still a little bit off in the distance here. 2 different solos from 2 different representative teams, and Yapko, Panzer in a very commanding spot right now, but it's cringe, and Volko looking to strike back against Chino. Pablo missing in action. Chino will be forced to bring things to a little bit of a halt here, but it's the same case scenario for Cringe. He still needs Volko to touch back down from the reboot.
Got a bit of loot though from his fallen teammate, and now spent enough time to have his teammate reload back in. Going against Chino and Pablo though, it's tough. They haven't played too aggressive in the early game throughout the day, but now they're hungry. As currently they're sitting in that third place spot comfortably. They don't want to lose it early on, so we can see how Chino is actually able to pick up Volko.
Pretty even battle between some of these duos. They're just looking to go toe-to-toe with each other. Really excited to see what Chap and Flixie have been up to later on down the line, though, because they were just getting so aggressive so early on here at Takata. That all-or-nothing mentality, feast or famine, is just so dangerous to run into. And Bevies for Strokey, not sure if they realize that Shark and Teeny are actually as close by as they appear, but they just wanted that slurp truck after all. And Panzer, Yapko, truly sitting idly by, waiting for his duo. This is, I think, one of our greener duos for this level of lobby, Takata. And if they could find a way to really just go sicko mode in this last lobby and lock in for a big performance, because they are right there, Takata. It is truly very much within the realm of possibility for that duo to actually confirm a spot to land.
Yeah, it was looking so strong for them too. They got top 10, I believe, 4 games in a row until the last one where they got 15. But hopefully they can make something happen this time around. Yapko Panzer on the other end, second place, but it is $10,000 more to get first place. So not only are they trying to hold on to their qual spot, but quite comfortably doing so, they more want that first place finish. Teeny Shark, though, are the ones that are currently blocking them off, holding on to the crown, looking to get their back-to-back first place finishes in this Reload Elite Series finals.
This just seems like such a foreign concept right now, but Teeny and Shark, I mean, they're playing exclusively for the dead side rotation at this stage, Takata, because, as you already mentioned, it's just first place that they have on their mind. They've already got their spot locked in for land. They don't have to worry about dishing out anything else other than, you know, eliminations, because it's just, that's going to be the real difference maker for whether or not they're actually able to take over the first place on the leaderboard. But Pixie, Swizzy, not out of it just yet. Chap will fall. Crazy shot there from Pixie. No chance to get away. Flixie is hoping that he can create just a little bit of space here, but Pixie and Swizzy, they know exactly what's at stake for Chap and Flixie. They're looking to shut this one down. They might even be able to secure even more elimination points too, just off the reboots.
Yeah, that was a huge shot that came through. They're only a little under 20 points behind Howley and Lusha, or right outside qualifying range. So they need to get to the end game here and have a decent performance.
Are you looking at what I'm looking at? And Vico's
that is
loadout right now. The lobby is not safe. I will leave it at that, okay? I really want to see what Malabuka and Vico are able to cook up, but that is a crazy exotic to pick up for the 8th and final lobby of the day. All they need to do is make it to the end game now, Takata.
I'm all for it, though. I'd love to see it come through. The Strokey Bevies, unfortunately, on the receiving end of a bit of aggression here. They are in 9th place, so all they want is to make it to this end game and have a shot to play it out. For Dodge, getting a bit focused here, hopefully has a teammate close by.
Pixie Swizzy boxed up temporarily. Chap on the horizon. Everybody kind of just taking their time. These last few moments before we start to dictate some of the outcomes for some of these teams. When your top 10 is as tightly knit, no real huge point disparities, it just becomes so feasible for anyone and everyone to get involved here. And Vico, Mally, high ground.
This is the second time they've done that fist pad for 7th zone right before the one that pulls into the zone. So it's worked out quite well. You always have that risk of getting focused if you get cracked or kind of get the eyes on you. But I mean, it's worked now in these final 2 matches. They've claimed a dominant position. Now we're going to have the opportunity to take those shots on players rotating in zone. So hopefully they can capitalize on it and not only maintain their spot, but go even further up the leaderboard.
Josh and Wavy gonna start making their way forward. All eyes on Pablo Chino for right now, though. Scoping out the rest of the competition, recognizing there's some teams in the low ground trying to pass them by. Teeny, Shark, they'll also begin making their way forward, but Vico and Malabuka, they seem very confident and just wanting to take this early high ground. They know. Ooh, Deemish so incredibly low there, but Darm gonna be able to play enough of a distraction factor. It might come at such a steep cost here now, though, because Pixie and Swizzy kind of recognize the fact that this is an isolated player and there's nowhere that Darm could possibly escape to. Chapin, Flixie on the other end of his walls are going to be the ones to get credit for that elimination. But it's not like Chapin and Flixie are all in that better of a position. Even after finding that elim, they've still got to break through. Yapko, great scenes here. Not so much for Gonzo, though. Getting eliminated and knowing that it's just going to be for Daj having to clutch up for this final lobby.
Lusha Howley, a lot of weight on their shoulders here. Now, 10th place being eliminated, 8th place being eliminated. Them being 1 placement off the cutoff to qualify to the $2.5 million land. They need to have a big match here as Vico takes out Cringe, continuing to maintain that height from the start of this zone without a single team contesting them so far. But be careful, Teeny Shark, they might have their eyes on it.
Malabuka just making sure to stay 1 step ahead, though. Good connections. Now it's Shark underneath, secondary height. He wants to start cranking upwards. He's gonna wait for Teeny. And they're sizing up Vico and Malabuka on the high ground right now. They might not be the only ones either. Glovesheet Frags. Problems in the backside of zone, though. That's going to be Swizzy and Pixie meeting their maker. Vico, Malabuka, we don't have time to think about it because it's all about the high ground control.
Devastating finish, but for Vico Malabuka, it could be bright as they continue to get on ahead. They have more than enough mats, more than enough loot, but the placement points have just started kicking in. They still have a long ways to go.
Shark, Teeny, another solo just lies ahead of them. Kashi is hoping that he can just stay alive 1 moment longer. Did seem like potentially maybe Firen's with him. No, Firen is still with him, so at least they can work together. But Yapko and Panzer, all they want is a lead, but they're not going to be able to escape here. Yapko is going to now have to wait and pray that Panzer is going to be able to just play his own life. Still, out of this duo so far here today, Panzer has come up big time in multiple solo play scenarios. Can he do it yet again? Yeah, he has a decent material count. He's got 2 shield potions to work with. And that mythic revolver, but at the same time, it's just not going to be an easy feat by any means. Flixie Chap overhead. They want height. Vico Malabuka forced to commit to the backside of zone now, taking up a little bit of storm even. That Memphis grenade gonna save them, but Chap and Flixie, they are going all out warfare with this lobby.
They get shot down, though. Vico picks up 1. He picks up 2. This could be it. The Siphon now has put him back to 100 HP. A bit of time to pop those shields, but Zynox is going to be the one that's claimed high. Issue is, Chap is not going to let it last long. 6 elims on Flixie, 2 on Chap. They've now overthrown.
That looked like it was going to be the end there for Chap. I'm not even kidding in the slightest, but now he might meet his demise. Vico Malabuka with a vengeance, resurging back towards the high ground. The grapplers gonna help them control the overhead. Lusha still just barely managed to juke his way through, tarping, but he's out of materials. He's gonna be forced to drop, and it's Jack from overhead. Never saw it coming, but Lusha pays the price of his life. Now Panzer, deep backside of zone, still trying to make it happen. He knows what's on the line. It's a first place position on the leaderboard. He needs a siphon though. He needs a refresh. Anything and everything at this stage could make the difference here, but Vico and Malabuka are relentless. They are not letting up.
A $10,000 shot for Panzer if he's able to connect it onto Sharkantini. They're on the other side of the door. He hits the first one, unable to get the knock though, as he's forced to play aggressive without any mats. Shark now doing what he can to stay up, but Chino gets knocked down. Panzer continuing to grapple. He goes down. Malabuka now still up height.
But look at the way that Malabuka is played, but Shark, huge connection shot there. Elimination onto Faded. Also got to make sure that he gets to utilize some of this slurp too, but Shark, Teeny, shockwaves overhead. Vico in their sights. Vico's not in their clutches just yet. He still has Malabuka with him, and Shark is going to be on the receiving end here. Vico coming out on top. Can Teeny get it done? No, he cannot. Vico delivering yet another all-star performance here. Vico, Malabuka, these guys, why are they only allowed to win when it's the last two lobbies, Takata? I just cannot figure it out, but Vico and Malabuka, they definitely secured their spot for the LAN quals here, Takata. Impressive scenes. Analysts, let me hear it.
I mean, Vico and Malabuka, they know how to give everyone in the lobby a heart attack and everyone on the broadcast desk too. Finally, we're seeing this duo that had not the best start to the year prove themselves. They belong on LAN, and finally, we know we're going to see 11.
When the lights were brightest, they showed up, and that's what matters. They've been doing it so consistently late. Taco's right. I don't know what it is about these guys where it's just, yeah, we'll just rock up when it's the last game and show what we can do. But it must be enough now for them to be in LAN contention. I mean, look, we said we were going to watch them today. We said there was pressure on them, Harry, and they stepped up when it mattered.
Of course. I mean, when you do have a spot like Slurpee on Con, there are high expectations, not only just because of that and the caliber of players they are as well, right? And look, they can have all the pressure they want on them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to faze them, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know what it is about them. I don't know how they keep on doing it. I want to see if they're able to do this similar type of clutching on LAN, and hopefully, or luckily, we are going to be seeing that.
And the big thing now, right, we've obviously been tracking this story of Vico and Malabuka and EU contesting versus not contesting at Slurpee. We already know one team who's qualified from Slurpee going to that LAN is Pete and Poyo, so I'm going to be waiting to see whether these guys really can step up to the plate and say we want to contest those guys, or will they look for somewhere else now that they still have a bit of time to figure it out. Regardless of what it is, there is one thing for sure, Vico and Malabuka are them guys.
Let's see the leaderboard and find out who will be joining our already qualified duos at the LAN finals. Congratulations, first of all, to Sharkantini for doing the back-to-back and winning again. Another $30,000 going their way. But Yapko and Panzer, what a performance. Vico and Malabuka, and finally, Khan and Faded. No one had them on their bingo card going into this one, but what a performance by these two, Coach Harry.
Yeah, this is the beauty of EU, right? You know, it's not like other regions where the teams at the top are always going to stay the same. There's always an underrated talent or a team that no one talks about who gets close, or in this case, qualifies to the LAN. Last time it was Twek and Mida, and this time it was Faded and Khan. And to be honest, they showed it today how capable they are in these lobbies. They didn't feel like they were out of place at all. And for someone like Faded, who, to be honest, for a lot of his career was seen as like just a streamer, just someone who, you know, he talks about he got a clip on Mongrel, and that's basically all he got his fame from. But now he ends up in this situation here where now he's going to the LAN as one of the best teams on Europe, and it's exciting to see what they can show.
Yeah, very happy for those guys. I think when you look at the way they played, they made waves. It's not like they've just snuck in, right? In many of these games, they were one of the biggest threats for teams trying to play mid and low ground. So it's good to see them. Hopefully they can bring that energy to LAN, right? I want to see them rise to the occasion there.
Well, let's see the 6 duos who have qualified already to LAN for the Reload Elite Series. It's really exciting to see some big names up there. You've already mentioned Peter Bottom. Poya will be going toe-to-toe with our European heroes, and of course, Cole and Rapid. But oh my goodness, this is looking like such an exciting event already, Harry, and we still have 2 more qualifiers to go in Europe.
That's the beauty of the reload. Only the best of the best are going to qualify, right? And it's going to be such a stacked lobby. And I'm just excited to see what off-spawn situations we had. You touched on it there, Levin, about Slurpee, but there's so many other spots that teams might look to go. And, you know, when you get to the global stage, you get to see fights that you never see before, and that's always so exciting.
Yeah, so much talent on that board. Look, I'm not trying to flame some of our Fortnite creators, but last year when we had the Pro-Am, there were a couple teams in there that were duds. You know, we had some great pros, and, you know, some of the creators, you knew the level's not quite there. When you look at the lobby list already shaping up for the LAN, so much talent. We ain't got duds. We've just got talent, and that's what I want to see. Looking forward to seeing who steps up.
So we've got a few more spots going Europe's way, I should say. In fact, we've got 6 more spots going Europe's way. We've got 2 more qualifiers. Who do you want to see make it to LAN, Levin?
Oh, there's quite a few. There's some people who haven't even made the finals who I want to see them actually even get a chance to fight to qualify for LAN. I think the one team that I was sad sort of just missed out there would have to be Swizzy Pixie, right? They were putting on the show at a point. The storyline, the momentum felt like it was there. So hopefully we see them bounce back.
Harry?
I mean, I want to see the global champions, Queasy. We need to see him. We need to see him in these finals lobbies. You know, when it comes to these global stages, he has one of the best records, if not the best record on a global stage. And as a biased European fan, I need to see him on the stage because I know he's got a good performance.
Oh, Harry, you mentioned global stage. Did you know that we're setting up a global stage in May at the PSD Bank Dome in Düsseldorf for the 30th and 31st of May?
You said something about it and something about the tickets as well.
Yeah, they're going on sale at 10 a.m. Central European time tomorrow. So that's 9 a.m. if you're in the UK like us lot. So why don't you follow FN Competitive on Twitter, and then you'll get a notification as to the link you need to be there with us and hopefully with Queasy and the best players in the world. We're so excited to see you in Düsseldorf. We're so excited for the return of FNCS, by the way, if I'm allowed to say that on RAS, because that's coming back next in April. Then we've got our next qualifier for the Fortnite Reload Elite Series. We've got a final one of these coming your way in June as well. So mark your calendars, friends. We cannot wait for all this action that's coming your way. We cannot wait to see who else is going to qualify for the LAN. And we can't wait, in fact, to see the next 2 Duos qualifying from North America. That's going to be happening on your feeds in around about 2 hours. Make sure you're following and you'll get a notification when we're live again with Zeke and the gang. Harry, have you enjoyed yourself?
It's been amazing, thank you. It's been, the best part was, I would say you guys, but the finals, you know, the competition, the players, you know, how close it came towards the end. And that's what we love about Europe, right, is how close the competition can be.
What a debut from you, son. Honestly, what a debut. This guy is unbelievable. So give him his flowers. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Stick around for NAC. And right now from us, well, it's time to sound that horn. Good night.